Finally have this figured out. Windows hates me as usual, but okay. Welcome to the Cousins Converse podcast, episode number 2,
Call this bad boy.
featuring
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
Perplext Gamer
And Sneaky Gerard.
and with special guest. Yay!
Yay!
Uh,
Yes.
we will patronize you as to the point that you will probably never come back.
You know how it goes.
Alright, so we have a rough itinerary today because there's a lot to talk about.
Yes, we should hopefully hammer it out too and not dwell on it like we did last week.
Yeah, yeah, yes, uh, 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago. Um,
Yes.
I am going to get tired of your sarcastic looks eventually, Jared.
I
uh,
feel you.
so the first topic, we started last week's, or episode number 1, talking about cryptocurrency. Uh, I kind of decided to run away from it like it was the plague because reasons. um, Jared, I think you've been more involved in it, and I think you've one of your friends has actually set up a node, or I guess I'll say I did validate that you can totally set up a master node and it works,
Right.
and then I ran away.
Yeah. Dan kept trying to get a hold of you, which I think we'll have Dan on here at some point probably. I mean, yes, Dan from LPT. Oh God, Twitch just started blaring something. Anyways, yeah, we'll have Dan on here at some point. But yeah, he's been really getting into it, and he's been messing around with staking instead of masternoding, which I mean, it's a kind of a similar deal, um, but this isn't necessarily directly relying on transactions occurring on the network. I believe this is more involved in the actual mining slash generation of the Sinks coins. Um, but yeah, it seemed to be working pretty well for him, and I was helping him kind of test the staking process and everything. Um, and he actually gave me a Litecoin for all my troubles.
So, cryptocurrency hackers,
Yes,
mug Sneaky Jared when you find a time.
yes, bug
he
me.
he has a coin.
I have a Litecoin.
But so just to kind of clarify, it seems like staking has a lower uh starting point. You don't need the 5,000 Sinks coins, for example. You can start with nothing essentially, and you basically leave your wallet open. And it sounds like as coins are mined, the coins appear in your wallet.
Yeah, so basically, Dan sent me 500 Sinks coins, and then I think he had, I don't remember how many he had. He had at least 5 times as many though. Um, and then it only took him about a couple hours, I want to say, initially to get his first like deposit or transact, not transaction, yeah, deposit. Um, and I guess it's in increments of five. So I think he said about every hour and a half, he got about 5 cents. So
Yeah,
total
that's
into total into like 45 sinks per day. So I mean, it's considering a sinks coin's almost $1 a piece. That's pretty good.
just to leave a wallet open on the internet.
Yeah, just to after you've obtained sinks coins, just to have your wallet unlocked and be part of the staking process.
You're correct.
Yes. I guess it is a no. I'd look at.
But still, right, and
Yeah.
like 45 syncs a day would be give or take 30 a day, $30. Okay, so pretty decent return for, and it's essentially passive income at that point, right? You just leave your wallet open and money
Yeah.
appears.
When you're staking like that, you are oh, literally just leaving your wallet open and being not part of the network or being part of the blockchain.
All right. Anything else cryptocurrency wise that you'd like to talk about?
Uh, that's a no from me.
I guess the last anecdote about it, John Oliver's last week tonight show covered cryptocurrency. Um, he kind of stated that he wasn't going to get very technical with it. I did see Reddit kind of going very anti it, saying that he didn't get into the fundamentals of Bitcoin and things like that. So it's worth watching as a segment and forming your own opinion on it at some point. Obviously, the kind of exposure that his show's gonna bring to it brings it to a whole new audience. It's not as technical, and especially he gets into some of the other currencies, not just Bitcoin. So worth checking out and seeing what you think about it.
If he has several thousand Litecoins, he's gonna be doing pretty well. Okay. Well,
Well, and the rumor with the Litecoins is that Zuckerberg and Facebook are looking at possibly taking Litecoin on as a universal currency. So if and when that happens, I'm sure that there will be a tremendous boost behind it. Okay, uh, the next topic, we'll start with the President Trump blocked the Broadcom and Qualcomm merger through an executive order, citing national security concerns, and that has left Intel as the major player still in consideration to buy out Broadcom. At first, I thought that this was a rarity that a president would block something like this. In researching it, his administration's blocked at least 10 potential acquisitions so far. Um, the main concern with this was having a Chinese company buy out the company. So, thoughts, concerns?
um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, if Broadcom would have actually been able to obtain Qualcomm, that would have essentially just given them a monopoly, wouldn't it have?
Uh, I don't think necessarily a monopoly, but it definitely would have given them significantly more market share.
Yeah, definitely would have. I mean, especially if it was $117 million deal. That I mean, there's obviously some weight behind Qualcomm, as we know. I mean, they're all their chips are in mobile devices now. So right,
Right.
they're the top dog of mobile networking.
Yeah. And Broadcom, if you own a computer that has a network card in it, there is probably Broadcom technology in there somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, definitely a definitely an interesting ordeal any way you look at it. Whether you look at it just from the political aspect of of Trump blocking it, or if you look at it from the market standpoint of what could have the outcome of the deal.
Right. There's one last quip about it that I read, and I'm trying to remember quick. I don't think I'm gonna find it.
You can come back to we can come back to that if you want, but we can segue into a piece of news that is pretty much directly related. Well, is directly related. Um, Intel is considering buying out Broadcom.
Right. Well, so basically, there's been a lot of people looking into this, and like I said, the executive order pretty much cuts out any Chinese suitors, and Intel was the last major suitor in that. So there's some speculation that the executive order pretty much makes it a win for Intel.
Yeah. To be honest, I wasn't even aware of this until a few hours ago when I when I was reading the article on Intel being interested. Um, Apparently, they're still interested um, in well, wait, no, I'm this article was written before the whole Broadcom Qualcomm deal being have I mean fallen through. Um, so just lose there for a second. Um, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens now that Broadcom was denied because Intel was probably going into it thinking, well, they're already knowing that the Broadcom merger was possibly going to happen, so they were probably banking off of of them merging, so then they could come in and just have both those companies essentially.
It, that's the tidbit. Uh, in the Broadcom Qualcomm, the one that was selling was basically having a fire sale, so it would definitely make it worth Intel's investment basically to pick them up. If they're the sole survivor of that, the valuation was something like 60% of what the perceived value is, if I remember the article right.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. Um, yeah, I mean, Intel would really, you know, they would come out with a very good uh, acquisition, for lack of better terms. They would definitely this would up their arsenal for product development immensely.
Right. Kind of sticking in the networking news, Marvel's launching the first 400 gigabit per second Ethernet chip.
Which I'll go ahead and screen share if I can.
Uh, we've got an Adon 567 watching the stream. He's a loyal, passionate fan. So thank you. Oh, that's a given, but I appreciate that he's calling it out. Okay.
Um, he was number one.
Well,
So,
I still appreciated it, Adon.
are you a 120 millimeter fan? Are you a 140 millimeter fan?
How big is that fan in that picture?
uh, this yeah, it looks pretty tiny. I mean, you can kind of get a good reference for. Well, I think those are
I will, Adon.
SFP ports or whatever. SFTP. I can't remember the.
It's
Yeah,
not.
SFP.
Yeah, it's SFP, man. SFTP is a file transfer protocol.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to be snarky about that. I know that
No,
you're young.
hey, I don't work with him.
So so an SFP, some people refer to as a GBIX. There you go. You're still screen sharing.
Yeah, I was trying to look up. What I was trying to think of was SFP plus, not SFTP. Um,
Right, SFP plus is basically where the industry
that's
is at right now.
that's the 10 gigabit standard, and the SFP is just the gigabit.
Right, but we're talking about a card that is 400 gigabits per second. So we'll
Yeah,
just make the broad assumption that it's a plus, if not a plus
plus
plus,
plus. Yeah.
or the infamous triple plus.
Yeah, this is definitely a monster of a freaking network card. That's for sure. I mean, the fact that it has, let's see, it's 6, 10, 12, 15, has 20 capacitors.
Well, I think the bigger thing is, and I probably am one of the few people that has gotten to see the inside of a brocade fiber switch, but those were pushing maybe 10 gig. This little thing's doing 400 and it's just got that little tiny fan. Like,
Yeah.
how is this thing not just melding all the time?
Yeah.
I've heard that there's rumors that they actually, uh, what you're not seeing is it's usually installed in a penguin's butt, and that keeps it nice and cold.
Okay.
So it's Linux friendly.
uh, Something I just noticed, and I don't want to keep dwelling on this, but it's pretty crazy that it can do 400 gigabits per second. Excuse me. If you look on this, there's literally one, two, three, four, five, at least five of these little grounds all over the board. I'm sure there's more. So I don't know.
Right.
I just find that interesting that they have that many grounds. Obviously, they're strategically placed too. Um, I don't know if that's just to ensure it's grounded and there's not going to be any power delivery issues there, or kind of what the game plan is to have so many ground points all over the board like that.
So just to throw it out there, I did the math quick in my head because no, I use Google. 400 gigabits per second is equivalent to 50 gigabytes per second. So if you've got a one of the fastest hard drives on the market right now, 6 gigabits per second is considered the fastest that you can get. So a gigabit versus a gigabyte, a gigabit would probably make that, I'm guessing, around 700 megabytes per second. So this is, oh god, 800 times that?
Six, yeah, 6 gigabit is 3/4 of a gigabyte, so that's yeah, right about 750 megabytes per second.
Yeah. So,
So if you do 400, right? Yeah. So 400 gigabit converts to 500, or sorry, 50 gigabytes, which is just absurd.
yeah. How could you imagine speed testing on this network? It it would be it would be done before you click the button.
It would just
It would
be
just be like I incepted that you were going to press me. So here you go.
I mean, 50 gigabytes. That's you could download. The division's like 55 gigs. So, I mean, in less than 2 seconds, you can download the the division. I think. Well, I don't think. I know your SSD, your mechanical drive. That would be the biggest bottleneck.
Well,
It can't write it fast enough.
this is actually so fast. I believe the system bus itself would not be able to keep up.
It'd
I
probably be like another article we have planned. It's kind of be like the DDoS attack where the pipe wasn't big enough to
right.
accommodate all that data that was hitting it.
All right. Anything else on this ridiculously fast Ethernet chip? Also, it's an Ethernet card. Why is this not? Why is like if this was a router? Yeah, cool, awesome. Who's gonna put this in their desktop?
The question is, can we put this in our desktop? What kind of look at the port that you have to connect to it? It almost looks like a an old school IDE connector, but it's got those like it's got the little copper pins in the middle, and then it's got like these big copper pieces on the ends there. So I don't have no idea what desktop would support a port like that. Uh,
So they're putting this out to jumpstart the 50 gigabit uh, ecosystem, and they have the intent to take the 50 bit to 200 gigabit, then 400 gigabit. Right.
yeah.
Well, yeah, we're about there now until fall, and then we're supposed to have gigabit as an option.
I'm so ready.
Yeah. Well, if they can put these kind of cards out economically and make them affordable, there's no reason that the ISPs should not be investing in this kind of speed. That's what were doing up here too until we got the 100 meg, and finally, again, we're at 10%. Or actually, I think when it went to 60, we got our 10, and now they've bumped it to 100 by 10. The benefit if you do pay for a fiber ISP, at least the majority of them, is it is a one-to-one relationship. Um,
I know
right.
what I would be doing.
Well, so the last time that we had upload speeds that were one to one was dial up. And when we had dial up, if I honestly don't know if you age wise were around for it, but WinNuke, what? Okay, uh, that's awesome. When I talked to Jared about things, he just was like, "I didn't exist then."
I still had we still had dial up when I was little, so I do vaguely remember.
So so it kind of leads into another topic, but a lot of the reason that one, the normal internet subscriber wasn't thought to be uploading a lot. It was more a I send a request and you give me a lot of data back. So there's that can or it's the ecosystem of it. They didn't think that it was going to be a big deal. And then also when it was one to one, that's a significant amount of bandwidth that you're giving to somebody that could become a victim of a botnet and suddenly be DOSing something with, 20 megabits is a lot. That could take down most websites if you target it right. Well, or wrong is we do not advocate denial of services. It, it's kind of how they so the antithesis to net neutrality is internet fast lanes. So I think where you're going is if we do get to the point that we're having a lot of these fast lanes or people that don't want to pay the extra money to be in the fast lane, how is that going to be affected? And
How are they gonna get screwed?
a lot of it is the fast lane would be the person that wants that 50 by 20 connection. But if you have ever hosted a website or anything, it's not the download speed or bandwidth that you pay for, it's how much you're sending. And that's how most ISPs uh, charge you if you are running a server. So it does, to some degree, make sense on a bandwidth sent level that they would want more money for the more that you're sending. So say you're in a house of streamers and everybody's streaming at your 3,500 kilobytes per second, and you've got, I mean, realistically, if we're 10 megs up, we can only get one or two of those without knocking into the other person. If you had
Not having
20,
fiber.
if you had 20, you'd maybe get five if you were lucky. So the fast lane, should it happen, and Washington passing that law might just get net neutrality to go away. or I'm sorry, the fight against net neutrality to go away. Um, we kind of have to wait to see that, but the fast lanes are going to be the people that can buy more bandwidth, essentially. Yes. So you, it's not anything specific because presently a lot of ISPs are still uh, putting out there that they are not going to make any changes because there has been obviously a lot of negative, and rightfully so, a lot of negative publicity about killing net neutrality. Um, but what is expected to happen if you follow like Fight for the Net or anybody that's advocating to see net neutrality come back is the day that that happens, new policies just go into effect that completely contradict what people are putting out in the press. Uh, we could start to see access to certain websites gone. As I mentioned to Jared, I've been having internet issues, and it's between a third and a half of the internet will just become unroutable out of the blue. And if I hop on a VPN and route around my ISP, and I'm using a separate routing infrastructure, I can get there fast and everything's fine. So I think we're starting to see some of that be put into place. So I kind of think that we're just going to see some fallout right off the bat.
Oof.
Yeah, right. Yeah, what I think we're seeing, and just at work today, I saw interesting behavior that uh, we're starting to think might be on hardware on our side. So just I'll throw that out now. But what I was seeing is doing speed tests, seeing the dial do a lot of this, which is usually indicative of packet shaping because it's hitting its maximum threshold and it's recorrecting and then hitting and recorrecting. I think we're going to be seeing just a lot of that in the future, and I'm hoping that any company that tries to sue the state of Washington to reverse their stance on it, I hope that we see the Supreme Court do the right thing and uh, make it a utility like it should be. I mean, this is the equivalent of somebody saying, well, you're paying your power bill, but we're only gonna give you 30% unless you pay more because why not? Right. S-
Oh, I
s-
would have been on the phone with him.
so when this is happening, the one thing that I'd recommend that you do is if you have a VPN service account or if you can do a free trial even connect to the VPN when you're noticing that and do the speed test because I had the exact same thing happening. We have Spectrum here, and I'm not trying to throw them under the bus or anything, just stating facts as I saw them. Um, so I was getting about 12 and 3, and I should have 110. And as soon as I connected to my VPN, which should be adding overhead, I was able to get my 110. And that's just something, and it could be that there's no malicious intent. They could have a router that's acting up, a switch could be bad, or who knows what. But the fact that so many people are starting to see things consistently, the last, I'd say, 3 weeks for me, it, it it's really unnerving. Okay, well,
That's a good segue into another topic. We've been going on a little too long.
yeah, uh, so we'll switch over. AMD FreeSync coming to the Xbox console family.
Yeah, I did look into that. I think I saw that Saturday. I want to say Saturday or Sunday. Um, Either way, pretty awesome because FreeSync is a alternative to G-Sync. Um, AMD, whereas AMD they've got the hard or the software side of things, and G-Sync is obviously a hardware or physical solution. Um, but FreeSync is pretty cool. I've tested it before. My monitor that I have right here in front of me to right right over there is FreeSync, and I mean it does seem to work. Um, Granted, I have a 144 hertz monitor and I have a graphics card that's capable of handling that, so I don't have too much screen tearing or any micro stuttering issues.
If you haven't noticed, Jared's very modest and a frugal, and that's why he has the very best things of everything.
No, it's poor financial decisions and impulse buying.
But
Those go
yeah,
directly together.
yeah, I think it also is kind of an indicator, right, that a lot of Xbox gamers are using monitors instead of televisions.
Well, right, yeah, especially with the support now. Um, and I think I read somewhere that they support. They're going to be eventually, if they don't already. I'm not entirely sure. Supporting a higher refresh rate, so then you'll be starting to get into the 75 hertz range, and then slowly probably 100 hertz range. Um,
Yes.
Beyond indeed. Um, but support that higher refresh rate. The current gen Xbox and PlayStation hardware, I think the PlayStation 4 Pro could probably handle 100, 120 FPS. Run.
I
Right.
what I've heard with the PS4 is there will be games and an update in the future that will allow for 4K at 60, but they don't anticipate going much beyond that. And
Well,
if it is hooked to a TV, you don't need to. But if we are going to see it come to monitors, like this is obviously Xbox coming to monitors because you don't need
right.
sync otherwise. Um, it is gonna be a problem, and so you have the Xbox One S, and you have the PS4 Pro. What kind of crazy name are they gonna come up with for the next one just to accommodate the fact that every time that we get caught up, somebody has to go and just kick that uh, goal line a little bit further for these consoles that probably are going to be replaced here in the next 2 years. Yeah, right. Nintendo was ridiculously affordable.
Right.
Right. Well,
Right.
I kind of, and this is just me probably saying the most ignorant thing that I will say, but
Make sure you're recording.
being somebody that enjoys gaming on a console more than PC, having taken a break from PC gaming for a while and just coming back, like I love the quality of PC gaming, but I still run into DirectX issues and various things occasionally, and just Windows hating me. That the console I don't have to fight, and I will say the PS4 Pro with 4K and HDR looks. I mean, Destiny on that I would almost take versus on PC, and I know that again preface this by saying most ignorant thing that I will say.
PC Master Race.
well, the other thing, right, is 4K on a 60-inch TV where you're seeing. Well, but a 4K monitor say like my setup, I've got two 1080 curved monitors. They look great, but they're 1080. They're not 4K, and they can't do HDR. Now, if I wanted to get into the price range for a monitor that could do 4K and HDR, a 30 inch or 27 inch or 24 inch is almost the same as a 60 inch TV. So if I could have that much more big of a screen, and I get, like Jared's the only person that I've noticed when we were playing Destiny that he's like, "Oh, this 30 frames per second is just killing me." Like maybe it's me going to like animation school and stuff or something, but I don't necessarily see the frames, and I get that some people are more conditioned to it because they're used to a higher frame rate, so it's easier to see that flashing a little bit. Well, I kind of see that, but I will say, and it might just be that I've installed too many random programs, or I'm usually streaming if I'm running uh, a game. I'm usually streaming it just to have it somewhere in case I happen to get that 35 kill game. But you never know, man. uh, but I'm noticing a lot of lag in PC gaming. And I have a system that should not be lagging. And the fact that the PlayStation 4 even is based on technology that was years before where this is, I just think there's definitely room that console gaming could correct itself. But instead of this, like, we're gonna put 8 cores out, but only enable two, and then we're gonna add two every 2 years or whatever to get 10 years out of it. Just go to a 5 year rotation. The PC market's still on a 3 to 5 year rotation too. That way, you're not getting literally 3 to 4 generations behind on major graphics advancements, which leads us into our next topic, the Vulcan. But I really think, I don't know, the it'll be interesting to see if we see a more PC based console or if consoles just disappear. I will say I think having Mac come into the picture with a desktop that will be something that you can upgrade again, assuming that they uh, actually stick to the rumors that are out there. If that happens, that's a major concession, just like Microsoft, uh, basically allowing Linux in replacement of itself has been a major concession recently.
So so here's my whole thought process, right? So, and I mean, this is, I guess it's not necessarily my thought process, but this is kind of the fact. So, your console, you're gonna be optimized. It's gonna be optimized for that system because the specs are the same across every platform, right? Well, PC obviously there's how many different motherboard makes, there's how many CPU different, well, only two different CPU manufacturers, how many different memory makers, how many different power supply makers, how many different graphics card makers. There's all these variables that have to be dev for. Um, Whereas, PlayStation. Oh, it's this CPU, this RAM, this, and this. So now we can optimize it. So that in itself, the convenience sake of just being able to sit down at your console, pick up your controller, and you know you're gonna not have any issues, possibly overheating or internet issues. Well, that's another can of worms. That's another can of worms. But on paper, you can pretty much guaranteed sit down, just play. You might have, it might be an overheating issue, it might be an internet issue you're having, something like that. But it's going to be a lot more simplified. The issues are going to be a lot more simplified on console, whereas, like you were saying, DirectX issues on PC, you could just be having random crashes. You could be having an issue with your CPU. You could be trying to auto overclock itself or something if you have something enabled in the BIOS. You could be having an issue
Nice.
with your you could be having driver issues with your graphics card because the newest driver came out and you have an EVGA card, and for whatever reason the drivers aren't EVGA cards don't accept the drivers for whatever reason. There's just so many more variables that you have. The average. Yeah, yeah. So there's another thing. There might be an AMD based driver out for I don't know whatever game. Let's say Tomb Raider. Might be an AMD driver out for Tomb Raider that is 20% better performance allegedly. Whereas the Nvidia drivers, there's no new driver, and you're still stuck at that same performance. Or if they do come out with a new driver, they're not deving with Tomb Raider optimization in mind. You know, there's other variables like that to consider. Um,
Are you ready for the biggest contradiction ever?
yes.
Okay, it's not really, but uh, PUBG. If you look at footage from people that were playing it on PC versus people playing it on the Xbox One S, the graphics on the Xbox One S are pretty damn awesome.
I can't say I don't have an Xbox. I don't. Well, I don't play console.
I mean, they're at least comparable. Yeah.
I know. I'm talking to a viewer in the chat
Oh, I see.
because I wasn't done talking before you interrupted me there.
Wow. Right. I have seen some newer games, Horizon Zero Dawn, Destiny 2. Uh, a few of them are now letting you kind of decide if you want to go ultra mode or if you want to back it down. Um, I I can't speak to pub. The other thing, Fortnite on PS4 looks beautiful too. And granted, the art style of that caters to it doesn't need quite as much processing as something that's photoreal. But I don't know. Here's my dream. I hope instead of taking the AMD Cell approach for the next generation, we see them take Nvidia and just give it a try for a change.
Big dick plays.
Yes.
It definitely seemed that way.
For most of the weapons, I think there's a couple that have a slight fall to them, but most of it is lasers, yeah. There's definitely a bullet drop. It kind of
Right.
seems like they took the battlefield approach of a bullet has weight, it is not a laser. Deal with
It's
it.
it's nice with PUBG too because there's been other military. I guess it's not really a military sim. It's just a battle royale game, but in a sense, it is kind of a military sim because it does have all these guns and everything. Like Arma was, Arma was the gotta get Arma, and then the DayZ mod came out, and DayZ. Well, PUBG did a really nice job with um, it was H1Z1 for pub. Um, but you know, Arma in its day, well, it still probably is unoptimized, but back in the day, that people complain about pub now. Arma was terribly unoptimized. I mean, you could have God, I don't even. It was like what second gen Intel and like the 600 series Nvidia when that was Arma was at its peak. So even if you had like a 2600K with a 680, I mean, you would still be struggling to run that game at 1080p. Whereas, Pub, even in its when it was just introduced, I mean, yeah, it was pretty bad optimization wise. There we go.
Yes.
um, I'll take it. Um, but yeah, they did a lot better job with Pub. I mean, maybe it was just the way, it's Unreal, right? Pub's Unreal or no?
Yes, that and Fortnite are both Unreal.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe it's just the engine. Maybe it's a little bit better than whatever. I can't remember what engine Arma uses. I think they might use Unreal too. To engine type.
Uh,
The real virtuality game engine.
yeah, that doesn't
Yeah.
sound optimized at all.
It was developed 10 years prior to the game's release. Well, that could be the issue in itself.
So, so we're at our hour, and we have gone through six uh,
Yeah, we've done a pretty good job of
of.
articulating and getting on with it. Okay, should we change topics here and just go right into the game topics?
uh, just yeah, just
Uh,
really quickly here. I'll do the security stuff super quick. So the Nintendo Switch, they've hacked. A group got Linux running on it, so expect to see a lot more coming out on the Nintendo Switch. Kali Linux is out for Windows through the Windows App Store. If you want to see how insecure Windows is, now you can simply install a penetration testing Linux distribution and hack yourself. So have fun.
Reese
Um,
Ferrario, thank you for the follow.
the world's biggest DDoS attack record was broken after only 5 days. This I wanted to kind of tie into. So where we think that we're seeing net neutrality be taken away the last 3 weeks, there is conspiracy theory to some extent that the GitHub DDoS attack was somebody testing out their new botnet, and basically that there might be a lot of DDoS attacks coming in response to the 28th and when things happen, which unfortunately, it's cool that people care and want to make a scene about it. It sucks that they're gonna break the internet to make the point.
You were talking about the DDoS attack, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's. I mean, just imagine, that much data being all at once. That it's just insane.
Well, that's a good place to be. Well, and most of the Western world internet is a right that comes with your tax, essentially, too. Anyways, not to go political or anti-USA or anything. Um, the what the last security thing. So there's new LTE attacks that allow eavesdropping on messages and tracking locations and spoofing alerts. Uh, this is a technology attack, so it's cross carrier, cross platform. The fact that this is happening just means there's going to be so much more.
Yep.
And on that, we'll switch to the gaming segment. Let's start with talking about Kronos Group putting out Vulkan 1.1. I had put in the show notes the Doom benchmarks. Vulkan consistently outperformed OpenGPL or OpenGL. Sorry, GPL. I'm a Linux person, obviously. So Vulkan's an open platform that where OpenGL is something that was intended to be completely open and cross-platform. Vulkan has decided to take it a step further, and they're working with the cross-platform manufacturers. So they're working with Nvidia and AMD. They're working with Apple and Mac and Linux. They're working with a very wide group to try to get consistent video performance cross platform totally so that people can write games that utilize a Vulkan driver and we can have consistent performance on like hardware regardless of the operating system that you're running.
My whole PlayStation and consoles being optimized for the hardware they have argument that will be thrown out the window if this is implemented like they say it will be. Yes, precisely.
Agreed. And to that point, this is something that AMD's strongly backing, and you're not hearing a whole lot from Nvidia.
AMD's had this in the works for at least 4 years. And you have to have the hardware to support it.
Now I do think that their Vega might keep them relevant for a while, or AMD, just for people that don't follow the graphics manufacturers. But the fact that the iMac Pro is Vega based, just in that you're gonna have a lot of creative art studios buying them and utilizing them. I know people like to hate on Apple, but if Apple's backing something that's going to get a lot of market share one way or the other, no, you're fine.
What a tick.
It also works great under load, where Microsoft will, like, what I love about Apple products, and to circle back to the graphics thing a little bit too, or I will circle back to it. The thing that I like is when you're running, say, Logic Pro, and you just care that Logic doesn't crash, everything else in the background might slow down, but what you want to have the performance, whatever's active, gets it. It's using Unix, it's setting a nice priority, and you have it. The other reason that I think you're seeing AMD on Apple or in Apple products, they're willing to invest the time to write drivers that actually utilize it properly.
Mac Pro.
The 12 core.
I think you could get it up to 24 or 16 core, 24 core, something like that.
Right. The Vulcan should actually make that more feasible should it continue to advance. Yeah, like there's two things. One, if Apple started to put more Nvidia products in, we'd get to have a better comparison and see a one-to-one. I do think Nvidia hardware is better. Just to throw that out, that's my bias. Their drivers definitely are more consistently better. Their quality is better.
Their infrastructure is better.
It, it's like Intel versus AMD. Like Jared and I earlier this year, or maybe even last year at this point, I don't remember. Yeah, we built Horizon. We had high hopes that it would beat the previous generation of the Intel and then be pretty similar to the current Intel, and it got destroyed. And we both were kind of a little perplexed by that, I think. Not
So kind of backing or banking off what you just said. So that's another can of worms, but I'll give the TLDR what I'm trying to say. So in AMD, early mid 2000s, they were either on par or pretty much slightly ahead of Intel in terms of just overall, power. They had, yeah, and for a while AMD was better, especially when they had the Phenom 1090T. Like that was the go-to AMD chip. I mean, that was the holy grail of processors back in the mid 2000s. Like that, nothing, oh, I'm going to build a computer. What should 1090T? I don't want to spend the three or 400 whatever on the Intel, so I'll get this, and it literally would perform just as good, if not better. Obviously you'd go with the Intel if you need more specific or single core oriented, uses, but um, I'm specifically talking about CPUs right now, but this applies to their CPU and GPU line currently. So after that, I want to say right about 2009, 2010, they kind of didn't do anything for a while. Then in 2011, and in 2011, I believe quarter 4 of 2011, they came out with their FX processors. So that was the big thing. Oh, these FX processors, they're 8 core, 16 threads. Well, they failed to mention that it was basically 4 cores in each, or sorry, cluster, 4 core clusters with 2 cores per cluster. So essentially, it wasn't a true, 8 core design. It was just 4 times 2. So you were getting a 4 core with,
Basically, a
well,
hyper-threaded quad core.
yeah, that's not hyper threaded either because it didn't perform like it. um, but that just it was a really disappointing time for processing and, well, the processor industry, because, well, more importantly, the consumers in the processing industry, because AMD wasn't pushing anything out that was worth buying, and Intel could just kind of sit there and, oh, we're releasing our third generation stuff. We're going to do a 2% increase across the board. Oh, we're releasing our fourth gen stuff. We're going to do another 2%. And there was no innovation going on because AMD, over the 2011 to, well, up until Ryzen, they didn't do anything in the CPU world. I mean, they kind of did some stuff in the GPU world with the 400 series and 500 series, and they just made everything really cheap. So that was a viable option just because it was so cheap, not necessarily because the performance was good, but like the 480X, I think you could get for $200 at one point. That was comparable to now. That would be comparable to like a 1060, in between a 1060 and a 1070. So they made it really cheap, and everybody could get one, but just from a performance standpoint, take away the any monetary value. AMD didn't have anything for almost 7 years.
We're back to our weekly segment. A millennial attacks the CPU and GPU industry.
cue, cue the music, whatever. Technically, wait. I was gonna say, technically. No, I'm in the millennial generation as well. Yeah, it's 81 to 2002, I believe.
Yeah, it's a really big generation gap.
To stay
Right.
pinned on AMD, yes, I hope this just blows Intel and and Nvidia out of the water. I really do.
I do think what we'll see from it is Apple's underlying uh, graphics have been really good whenever somebody's taken the time to write a game specific to them. So I do think Vulkan being something that's opening that up, we'll get to finally, and Linux too, frankly. Uh, the like handful of games that have been crafted specifically for Linux are really good, and hopefully we get to see games become more portable with technologies like Vulkan. which I believe you could actually port to consoles too to have true cross-platform capability.
Not to keep going on about AMD, but you know, lack of Linux support as you found first-handedly.
Yes.
I mean that has been a big contributing factor to the different types of OSs that you can run. You know,
Well,
Intel supports pretty much everything is supported by Intel CPUs are supported by pretty much most of the operating systems you can install.
back in the day when AMD was coming up, Linux was the only way you could run it until Windows added support. So it's really shitting on the community that helped build them when they are forgetting to add support and work with, developing a driver or giving back to the community. I I agree. It almost seems like an attack of some like we're just done with. We understand that the market share is not what it used to be, so we're just giving up.
The FX line. Oh, gotcha.
All right. Just since we're talking more about the CPU side than the Vulkan side of it, let's Ubisoft and Massive Entertainment announced Division 2. How does everybody So I played the first one, and I will just say I hope that they put into everything that they promised to put in one and didn't.
I hope they don't come out with a release date and then 2 years later the game comes out. Okay, I was gonna say you're not missing anything, but yeah, that the last Tom Clancy game that I really enjoyed was, well, kind of enjoyed Ghost Recon something Warrior Soldier. Came out in like 2012 or something. That one was okay. But the last game I really enjoyed from the Tom Clancy lineup was End War, which was an RTS game.
Excuse me.
Whoa! Abandoned thread, abandoned thread. I mean, I don't know. The Division is just. It came out, after being delayed for so long, and then they basically, after so many people were complaining about it and just ultimately didn't wind up playing it, they literally overhauled the game completely. I mean, which they made it. It was kind of fun, but ultimately, after 10 hours of playing it, I just didn't have any interest to play anymore. As I say, I think we can. I think I can sum up what all of us think in about 2 words: uh, hope and change. I mean,
So we're bringing back
we
campaign slogans.
Pretty much. We hope it's good, and we hope that it changes.
I've never wondered this as a campaign. I mean,
No.
like don't get me wrong, I don't mind multiplayer games, but there are times most of the time whenever I play Call of Duty, or I'm playing for the campaign. The multiplayer was fun, don't get me wrong. I played it with teammates, but like the fact that the campaign got me through it.
the, the days of having a good linear campaign that actually has replayability are kind of gone, which sucks.
Okay. Switching topics. Sea of Thieves.
uh, can't wait.
Uh,
We played the beta. It's awesome. I'm super stoked for this game,
and supposedly we've only gotten to see maybe 10 to 25% of what the whole game will be. And
and it's fucking huge.
the art style is beautiful. Like I know that is kind of a weird thing to call out right off the bat, but like
What
there's
jumps out at you?
there's times that you're just kind of obviously between each island you're waiting for a bit, and the water effect, it's the best water that I've seen, and like Subnautica had pretty good water, and then I saw this. Uh, the star effects, I don't know if they're using real constellations, but there's at least fake constellations that make me think that if you get really good, you'll be able to navigate by the stars too, like you can on a real boat. Um, and if you can team up with a couple ships and just wage war, it's gonna be so many people are gonna be upset. Like Jared and me and the Mad Fragger were uh, hurting people's feelings by just
It's understandable.
literally ramming their ship to oblivion at times.
Yeah, we the PvP in this game is, I mean, it's unique in the sense that there's no real like PvP objective aside from killing people and stealing their loot. So it's almost like it's vague enough to the point that it, I mean, I don't know, it just makes it really fun because that's all there is to it. Kill people and steal their shit.
The one thing that I, in thinking about how we played over the weekend, I wish that when you do encounter somebody, like we did have a pacifist shouting out that, I mean you no harm and everything. Like, it'd be nice if you could lock them in the brig as opposed to only having the option of basically taking them out uh, or sinking their ship. But that being said, the improvements that I've seen over the past 2 weekends have been good. And I mean, the game's played better than PUBG has ever, and it's still just in test. So
When we
that,
did the alpha test, I couldn't believe how polished it was for alpha.
yeah, it's really well put together. I know somebody I work with thinks that the price for it is a little too much, with Rare not being a company that's put out AAA titles or anything. But for me, it's money well spent. I think there's going to be many hours put into that.
60.
I feel like because I haven't played alpha as of yet, I'm guessing you're looking at 48 hours.
It,
I don't. At this point, I don't think so.
yeah, at least as far as we've encountered, there's plenty of game without that. Not to say that they're not gonna add something, but it doesn't seem to be a game that is based on them, which a lot of the games lately seem to be based on those.
Just thinking that can you actually just for so I got one question.
Ford Buster Racing?
Yeah, can
No.
infosec can infosec technically just launch
Unless you're EA and you shoot
yeah,
yourself in the foot all the time.
I mean, I was gonna say this. That's kind of getting into Perplex
Well, and that's where GTA 5 is right now, which is why like it could be a game. It's got a lot of really fun DLC, but if you've got a lot of money, you're just ion cannoning everybody right now.
I know, right? I would
Well, I'm hoping that we don't see that what they've put in GTA 5 end up in Red Dead Redemption 2 because I really enjoyed the first one.
Yeah, Red Dead was awesome.
How rare is it to actually have like a cowboy game?
That's good.
Yeah.
Rare, very rare.
State of Decay 2 is the next game on the list.
Um, yeah, I mean, it definitely. I only played it very minimally for like an hour or two at one point. Biggest thing for me, no multiplayer. I thought it was the perfect multiplayer game, and I actually completely forgot about it, to be honest. And then when one of our friends, Matt plays too, so he doesn't have a channel name. When our friends Matt was talking about it one day, and
Weapon X86.
yes, Weapon X86, he does have a Twitch channel. I forgot. Um, he was talking about it at lunch. I'm like, oh, I completely forgot about that game. He said, oh, they're come out with another one. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, it's gonna have multiplayer, and I'm like, okay, this might be, they might have something because the whole concept of the game is really cool, and yeah, I'm pretty pumped for it, honestly. Sea of Thieves will tide us over until this comes out, hopefully.
Well, and if in between the two, if we run out of things, uh, well, I'll give Robert a chance to weigh in on State of Decay if you want to.
I originally started State of Decay 2.
It's it's an open world RPG MMO. I would well, it's not an MMO, but you can play multiplayer with I think up to 4 people.
So co-op, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah, State of Decay 2 seems interesting.
If we don't have a Left 4 Dead 3, I'm all about it.
Left 4 Dead 3 would be awesome.
So while we're waiting for State of Decay 2, Far Cry 5 will be out.
Yeah,
Um, if Sea of Thieves for some reason we hit a wall, Far Cry 5 seems to be like thematic wise, it's very in line with American Horror Story, and that it's like our country's just gone to political disarray, and it takes place in Montana, going against some extremists, and we'll have co-op play. The graphics look interesting. The story looks entertaining. I believe there's monster trucks.
Just in case you weren't already pretty sure.
was like a DLC initially or something, and then they came out with like a standalone game, I believe.
That's how much $6.
Oh my god, I haven't watched it in a long time.
That was the best playthrough I've ever seen in this because super 80s graphics and just
That game was ridiculous.
it was ridiculous and absolutely awesome.
Yes, it was a masterpiece. Um, and then Far Cry 4 happened.
Well, and then Far Cry Primal used Far Cry 4's map and just put dinosaurs and stuff on it instead. So
Yeah,
I, I don't know. I'm willing to give Far Cry 5 a chance. I didn't
the,
enjoy 4, but I do know people that are fans of that style of gameplay, and it's another game that you can play cooperatively. So there is a multiplayer element if you want to partake in that,
um, yeah, they're basically batting like 500 right now, so I mean it could go either way.
right? The next one, and I made the joke about Left 4 Dead 3. Valve's making games again. Wow.
It, it's the it's the tra- it's a trading card game, right?
Yes.
I heard
it's
about it.
it's based on the Dota 2 characters, and they expect that some of the characters that they add to the trading card game will find their way into Dota. So if you're waiting for Half-Life 3 or Left 4 Dead 3 or Team Fortress or anything that's not Dota, there's hope because Valve's making games again, but there has been no announcement for anything other than Artifact, which is this digital trading card game. It does look interesting, and by that I mean I can't form an opinion until I get a chance to play it. It looks very. I've never seen a card game that you still have the three paths like Dota and five heroes, I think it is, per deck.
And it says Artifact is the best card game you can build.
I was gonna say you flippy.
Yeah, so Artifact isn't the card game. Artifact is the card game that has the most world experience and the most expanded uh, it's actually Artifact
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, I like the concept of it. I kind of wish that this concept would be applied to other card games so that we start to see uh, like strategy games overlap with card games because I do think there's playing or the base of players could easily overlap, and right now there's nothing that easily transforms between the two.
I agree. I'm not a big fan of card games, especially these types of card games, but uh, it seems pretty interesting, especially if it's got a background in mind. Um, Hearthstone was okay. I kind of
I
I
play
enjoyed.
Hearthstone occasionally.
Yeah, I was gonna say I enjoyed playing Hearthstone, but yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see. I'm kind of interested in possibly picking this up, honestly.
And it also looks exciting because there's almost
Right.
also
Well, and the fact that Valve's putting out a new title, like Dota, is a good game, even though I still can't figure out how to play it effectively at all. um,
I mean, it's subjective.
you can get college scholarships for League. I haven't seen one for Dota.
It's because everybody's recognizing how popular League is. They're failing to recognize how toxic it is.
Oh no, 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 no. The first time you play an actual game with multiple options of playing, you will stop immediately.
Oh,
Hey, how's it going, guys? That's
Dota was pretty toxic. I'm not gonna say how, but I saw part of the toxicity.
We're fine.
it's like 18 plus 18 equals 2 minutes to play.
There's about one -2.
um,
There's so many people we've killed by talking about everything.
Another anything else on Artifact?
No, I will. Let's see.
Yeah, they do have the creator of Magic the Gathering behind it too, so that has me interested in at least giving it a try. Magic's been a really well thought out game up until recently, and I believe it's after they stole this guy that Magic's fallen apart. But all right, we'll move on. So the Square Enix Avengers game that doesn't have a title necessarily. I think they were looking at Reassemble. Um, there was a little blurb recently, just kind of they're keeping it very top secret. The development team that was on the last or the Rise of the Tomb Raider, is that the last Tomb Raider game?
Yes.
They have been absorbed into the Avengers game, which gives me a lot of I feel good about that. I thought Rise of the Tomb Raider was a really good game. Um, they won't say what kind of a game it is or the play style. All that they said is that they are building a game platform that they anticipate will last for decades. Uh, Me being a huge comic book fan, uh, it would be awesome to see something not at all like the Marvel Heroes game. Like, get away from the Diablo engine, give us open world, give us
Give the
varying
people what they want.
varying powers and a skill tree that you can make a unique character. That's what I would hope for. Um, but everybody's let me down when it comes to comic book games. I think the Kick-Ass game so far has been the best one out. And that's not a superhero game. That's just somebody that gets beat up a lot. uh, Anything from either of you on that?
I'm kind of with Alex. Tomb Raider is awesome.
Well, and I'm hoping that this is the game that switches that. Like, you have Avengers Infinity War happening. You're not going to have a better setup to get people interested in this stuff than that. So, hopefully, they can pull something off that we see a revolution kind of happen and we have some. Like, City of Heroes back in the day was decent. I, it's a shame that the funding disappeared, just like the funding for skateboard games disappeared and all this stuff. Like, people need to be more consistent in their fandoms.
Especially Star Wars.
Yes. Yeah,
if it games,
Gears of War.
Paragon.
Paragon's named after a movie.
You can't have a game named Paragon and then kill it. It's the very definition of Paragon.
They were straight up like, so this game this game is what's this game I believe it's called Fortnite. I've enjoyed Fortnite most this is where I would say that I've actually enjoyed Fortnite more than CS:GO.
Have you played Fortnite, the base game, not the Battle Royale mode?
Yes, I've definitely played Fortnite, the base game.
Yeah, like I do enjoy that quite a bit, and seeing the Battle Royale people that are good be able to construct things on the fly as like active defense or save them from falling. That's been. Have you even played Fortnite, Jared?
I was talking about the people that are good at the battle royale games.
Well, that's hilarious. We'll continue.
Carrying the team is pretty hard. Yeah.
I've
So, speaking of comments that probably should be taken back, Mark Hamill commented on uh, the new Star Wars film. Uh, we
Oh,
we have a resident Star Wars fan here that hated the new movie. Uh,
take it away, Jared.
give me a second.
well, this is poorly timed. Okay, I guess while we're waiting on that, we'll do the Marvel news quick. Oh, okay. We will go back to Star Wars as he has brought over a side. Thank you.
Wait.
Ahsoka. um. Oh boy, where do we start?
So, do you like Mark Hamill's take on the last one, or do you disagree?
So his take is just on
How Luke was written.
right and moving forward. So I don't know. I mean, he's flat out said in other interviews in the past couple of months that he completely disagreed with what Ryan Johnson did, but I mean, he did it because basically for the fandom and all the people that are into Star Wars. He did it for the people pretty much. I mean, he didn't want to do it. Whereas you have Harrison Ford, who literally doesn't give a fuck, and but basically said without directly saying it, he doesn't care about Star Wars, and he only did it for the money.
Well,
Which I
he's
mean, when you get $40 million to play to not even try in a movie, I mean, who wouldn't take that?
right. So,
Anyways, shifting back to Mark Hamill's thoughts on Skywalker and everything. Um, I think the way they did Luke, and this is a spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen The Last Jedi yet, in case you live under a rock and haven't made it to the theater in 4 months.
or because you have taste and you just aren't into Star Wars. But anyway, uh,
Yes, exactly.
I'm
Um,
kidding.
oh, I'm not. uh, the way they basically took the cheap route, I guess you could say, and they just wrote Luke out completely. They didn't. They did the whole Obi-Wan like parallel, I would say.
Does this remind you of anything, Jared?
Yes, that gives didn't really like how they did the whole like oh he's literally just channeling a an image of himself through the forest onto whatever salt planet it was. I can't remember what it's called. But the fact that he was like, that's the name of the what is it really?
No.
Anyways, the fact that he was like actually channeling, like an apparition, a physical apparition of himself because he hugged Leia and he gave her like the necklace from the Millennium Falcon. Like that was really cool. But then like in the lightsaber duel, like where he basically did what Obi-Wan did, like disappeared. But when Kylo Ren charged through him and the lightsaber didn't do anything, and then he's just like, "See you around, kid." That was pretty cool. Like that was I liked that. But then for him to just fade out into nothing, like
Fantastic.
yeah, thank you. Um, did he not have a big enough breakfast or something? Is he like, why did he just fade out? I mean, I get obviously, that's gonna take. You're probably gonna exert yourself, and you're gonna be exhausted after doing what he did. But like, they're basically implying he used so much like force energy or power or whatever that he died. Like that's what they're implying. So I don't agree with that. Like I mean, Luke to kind of go off to the side here, like Leia's character should be dead. Like I mean, for her to go out into space, like that was a pretty that would have been a pretty cool death. Like she exploded and she was out in space, but then to just use the force and fly back into the ship. I wasn't a fan of that. And then what purpose did she serve for the rest of the film? She had maybe 3 lines the rest of the movie.
We'll have to see in the next episode.
Yeah. On the next episode of Star Wars Episode 9, The Return of the Last Jedi.
Oh, you don't mean the Han Solo movie?
Can we not go there?
Yeah, we can skip.
I got kicked out of Twitch for having mine down.
um,
It's that. Whew.
to skip over it as it was requested. Star Wars live action television show.
Um, down like a clown.
Did you see who's behind it?
Uh, I can't remember.
Jon Favreau, who did Iron Man,
Iron Man,
that
right?
kicked
Yeah.
off Marvel or the MCU. Like I think it's in good hands.
Um, he well not he, but the other relatively newer, well recent Star Wars show, Rebels. I don't know if either of you watched that. Star
Yeah.
Wars Rebels was really good. Like I just finished it.
I haven't seen the episode.
It's really good. Like season 4, I mean, I can see why they ended it off because they were just kind of running out of material apparently, and they kind of did some questionable things that I won't spoil it, but it kind of threw everything that's ever happened in the Star Wars universe into limbo. But from what they did in episode or in the last few episodes of Rebels, um,
Disney did?
yeah, pretty much.
So,
Yes,
no Mara Jade.
Mara Jade is an awesome lead character. Um, but we won't talk about that because it's not canon anymore because a multi-billion-dollar company says so.
But Mara Jade's canon now.
That's right. God damn it. Um, but yeah, like Star Wars Rebels is phenomenal, and the Attack of the Clones series they did back in the animated series they did back in the early 2000s really good, and then the newer one after that was also really good. Um, but none of that's canon anymore. Sad. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I'm definitely down for another Star Wars show. Like I'm a diehard Star Wars fan. For as much shit as I talk about the new movies that have come out, Rogue One being the exception, I really enjoyed that. did like The Last Jedi more than The Force Awakens, but The Last Jedi was arguably a from look at just the character development and everything else going on standpoint, it was arguably worse than Force Awakens. Um, I did enjoy it. With that being said, I did enjoy it more, just for reasons I can't explain honestly. I just enjoyed it more. Um, but yeah, I mean, for a Star Wars live action show and having uh, a known director, is he producer or director? I forget. He directed the Iron Man, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for having a big name director and having that experience on a television show, yeah, I'm down.
Well, and the Witcher one, and
Mark
uh,
Hamill for playing the dude in The Witcher.
like
Hell yeah.
we're gonna get to the point that everything is a TV show, and I'm kind of okay with it, oddly.
With the way Marvel's going, making every comic into a show, everything's so damn good.
Hey, that's a cool segue. So, Jessica Jones season two.
I
Uh,
just watched the 7 episode.
Hey, me too. I just finished 5 yesterday.
I think I'm through 8 now, and um,
So good.
it's good. Yeah, like there's it didn't go the direction I was hoping it was gonna go, but I'm not disappointed. I think it's got some interesting arcs and twists going.
I'm oh, go ahead.
That you two should be encountering in the next day or two.
Oh, I was planning on tonight watching some. Um, what do I look like, a weenie?
uh, actually, um, b-
Yeah,
but
I'm down. I'm down with tonight. It's awesome so far.
so the the main kind of reason was, or the actual thing that I had on here was Daredevil season 3 and Iron Fist season 2 promo art has been released. Um, so Luke Cage season 2 is coming, and then we know that those will be coming. Uh,
Punisher season 2 started filming.
yes. Kristen Ritter did make a comment on a press tour that there may not be a Defenders season 2. At least they hadn't set anything up for it yet. Um, so that's a little disappointing. I kind of think that that might just be until they figure out, since Disney is supposedly getting their own network, maybe they want to sort out where they'll be able to put it before they uh, do any additional seasons or anything, as that's supposed to happen next year.
Yeah,
So we'll have to wait and see about that. Uh, but hopefully we continue to see these Netflix shows progress. I think the casting's been really good. Um, the stories have been nice.
John Bernthal as the Punisher was. I've said this repeatedly. It was the best decision he could have ever made. Like he fits that role so well. Like I mean, who I can't remember the actors' names for Luke Cage.
Mike Colder.
Yeah, he fits that role really well. Just or Kristen Ritter fits the role of Jessica Jones really well. Will Jones fits Iron Fist pretty well. Um, Charlie
Finn Jones, you mean? And then,
Finn Jones, sorry.
yeah,
Charlie something, I can't remember
Charlie
his name,
Cox.
for Daredevil. Like they all fit the roles really well, but John Bernthal as the Punisher, just like I can't think of any other person who can play that. How he's played it, he's that perfect mix of good guy, bad guy.
Well, and spoilers potentially for that, but at the end of the season, you see the setup for Jigsaw, his nemesis.
Yeah.
So, um, hopefully they continue to progress on along that story front. Darede-
Marvel. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say Daredevil season 3. I hope is a redemption, like they've ended both of the last two with him kind of conflicted about who and what he is as a character. And since Defenders brought him back and made him the devil again, I'm hoping that we just see a season of him just kicking ass and hopefully running across some of these other characters. Um,
Yeah, I although Marvel has been making some really big moves the past 2 years in particular, like with all the shows and movies. I mean, I don't think they have released a single uh, bad show or movie in the past 2 years. Like, and that's almost like objectively stated.
right, like Runaways in a lot of ways, I think is as good as any Netflix show, if not potentially better, and at least sticking to a comic book storyline. That was really good. And Cloak and Dagger just had a new trailer put out that's worth checking out. Um, that's a really interesting storyline. It's definitely catered more towards like the young adult crowd, but it deals with some really serious issues, and hopefully Freeform's a good fit for it.
Yeah, that's on my list to get to, but yeah, I mean, the only show that I'd say I didn't really enjoy. I mean, it was okay. Was Iron Fist. That was just it was kind of slow, and just the character develop or lack of character development by Danny Rand was, I don't know, disappointing.
I haven't really looked into it, but I'm hoping that Scott Buck is not affiliated with anything anymore. Uh, he went on and did the Inhumans, and such potential just ruined in a lot of ways. So that's one that I think a disservice was done. Um,
Agreed.
and I mean the ratings kind of indicate that.
Show that, yeah.
Um,
Um,
trying to think if there. Supposedly we'll see Squirrel Girl in a show in the future. That's gonna be interesting.
yeah, that'll definitely be interesting to see. Yeah, I'm pretty pumped. This is gonna be another huge year for Marvel stuff.
Well, and I've been trying to not be strictly a Marvel fanboy. uh, the DC shows on WB have been good, or I'm sorry, CW.
CW, yeah. I was gonna say, wait a minute. Yeah, The Flash is on my list to watch, and I can't remember the other one.
Arrow,
Arrow.
Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, and Black Lightning's been amazing. It's really good. It's dealing with serious issues. It's not your typical CW melodrama. Um, so I think comic books in general are good. We're
Yeah,
gonna see Hellboy rebooted movie wise in the future. Um, it'd be great to see some like Image Comics come to television, maybe a Gen 13 or something like that. If either of you are familiar with that one.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was.
Oh, I see how it is, guys. Well, look at the
Hey,
time. We've been talking for 2 hours.
these ethereal shaman dice are really captivating.
And as we have lost the interest of the two co-hosts for this week, I think it's time to wrap up.
To
Uh,
be fair, I was invited first. To be fair.
you did fine for thank you for guest hosting this week
Yes.
or this episode.
Round of applause.
Um, let's see. As We said last time, if you have any questions or topics that you'd like to see brought up on the show,
Yep.
uh, you can email me at perplexedgamer@gmail.com.
Or sneakyjared@gmail.com.
Can't miss a Tuesday night.
um, if you would like to be a guest host and would like sufficient time to prepare, uh, maybe get a hold of me and not Jared, so I can give you at least a day's notice.
Hey, I said 8 o'clock, and you were like, "Oh, let's do 7 o'clock," and I'm like, "Oh, I'm doing it fast."
Well, and you also said that we would get this done in under an hour, and now it's two.
I had an hour and a half to prepare, and I decided to do D&D stuff. It's not my fault.
No one has to do D&D stuff. You choose to do D&D stuff.
Sorry, you like D&D?
This is where you say, actually, I rolled a dice and it made me. Anyways.
And on that bombshell,
So, Cousins Converse, episode number 2 in the books. Thanks, everybody, and we will see you on the next episode. And that's why you are a guest host. Alright, thanks for coming on.
yeah,
You did a good job for not having a whole lot of notice.
having about 6.5 minutes of notice.
Thanks for joining, and we'll talk to everybody later.
Yeah, see you Friday, if not before then.
Yep, see ya.